welcome to the Get All Set podcast. My name is Emily.
And my name is Andrew.
And it's just the two of us.
Yep. Boring.
We can podcast if we try.
We could, but that would involve trying, and that sounds like a lot of effort right now. This time of
God.
The year, in this country, in this county, in the city.
This just like, it's kind of that thing where you just sort of want to, if someone asks you how things are going, you just kind of want to vaguely gesture at like everything that's happening.
Yeah, at that point, I kind of just go back to my melancholy default answer to that question, which is, it's going. Which, surprisingly, a lot of people are really just like, they're like, oh, that's a strange answer, but I don't ever get follow up on that answer. Every once in a while, maybe, but
I always say it's going.
Like, people just kind of give me that look like, wait, what does that mean? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Do I care? I probably don't care. And then they just move on. That's kind of the end of it.
It's just, progressing through the fabric of space and time, which does not exist.
Or it does.
Time is distance. That's literally all time is. Distance traveled.
Sure, but that said, the universe is flat, so flat earthers are kind of right at this point. It's just not about the Earth, it's about the universe.
Well, time is a flat circle.
I thought the universe was flat. Is the universe time? Is time a construct? I believe time is a construct.
Well, then it doesn't exist. This is what I said, and we're back to where I started.
But constructs do exist.
Remember when this was like about guitars?
Constructs are created. And who created everything, you heathen?
I think it was just a little accident.
Well, that's depressing. I think it was intentional, but that's where you and I disagree respectfully.
You don't think there are happy and beautiful accidents?
So
many children are happy, beautiful accidents. You're a happy accident?
Yes, I was born 8 months after my parents got married.
Wow.
My parents, I don't know if I'm supposed to be sharing this kind of information publicly. Anyways,
they don't listen to this podcast.
My mom's in the other room, but my parents are divorced, so screw it. From the day they met to the day they got married was 10 weeks.
Holy crap, dude. Wow.
Yeah. That's all the context I need to share at this point.
I think my parents got married after like 6 months, or they moved in after 4. Rick moved in after like 4 months. No, I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that about Rick. No, he's a good man.
I am grateful to have known Melissa for several years before we even considered the possibility that we could date each other.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to talk about it. I mean,
no.
I know you're a private person.
I can be private, and I can also share some of the cute details. And you know what? I think it's long overdue that I told the abbreviated story of how Melissa and I met.
Sure.
I know this is what everybody wanted to hear when they got into a gear
podcast. They're probably just happy that we're talking about something lighthearted.
Right. The world's been pretty heavy lately. Let's talk about, love, because love is exciting. We need more of it in the world. So I went to a sleepy little university called Azusa Pacific University in Los Angeles County in the city of, you guessed it, Azusa, AZ-USA. And small little private Christian school. Make of that what you will. It's a Wesleyan university for anyone who cares, which means, and it's not affiliated with the denomination. None of this is relevant to the story. I just felt like sharing. So I went and I studied practical theology, or more specifically youth ministry. I studied to be a pastor. And as, a good youth ministry student, I volunteered with the church relatively early on. So about halfway through my first semester, freshman year, I had already found a church that I was really happy with and started volunteering with youth ministry. Weird thing is so did Melissa. She wasn't a ministry major. She was a business major. Or I think she was a psychology major at that point. I lose track.
It's less important than other things.
She changed majors a few times. I only changed my major once, and I changed it from Christian ministry to youth ministry, which seems like it wouldn't be that big of a difference, but it actually was in terms of program makeup and the kinds of classes that you took. I digress. So we both ended up at the same church. She was dating someone who was a ministry major, who's a year ahead of me in my program, who I caught up to pretty quickly because I went to college with a lot of AP classes in the books, or past AP tests. So I started college with 25 credits.
Damn, that's more than me.
Yeah, so that's actually the main reason why I was able to graduate in 7 semesters and saved a lot of money that way. Anyways, so she was dating my classmate. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
A friend of mine, really good guy, and she and I were both volunteering at the same church, at the youth group, doing youth group type stuff. And that was like that for like a couple of years. I got to be friends with her. She was just really cool. And then come junior year, she was no longer dating this guy. I was no longer dating anybody else. And I was sitting there going, wait a minute. We've been really good friends for a couple of years. We clearly can work together because we've been volunteering in this particular context. The little bit that I know about what she wanted out of life, I'm like, I think we want similar things out of life. Why don't I just take you on a date? So I asked her out and she said, no. Flat no, absolutely no way. I was like crushed. I was like, oh, well, that's okay. I respect that. And I wasn't going to be rude. I wasn't going to be persnickety. I wasn't going to try and follow up and do the sneaky. I'm going to convince you. I will possess your heart, to quote Van Gibbon.
Yeah, that's not a creepy song at all.
Wasn't going for any of that. It's like, it is what it is. I tried, and I like our friendship, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Fast forward a couple of weeks, she was like, maybe. Went on Christmas break, came back, and she's like, all right, you get one date. And no more than one date, and I'll get to decide after that. So now I'm thinking, I get one date, I've got to make the most of this, and I have to be able to convince her that it's worth having another date after the fact. So here's what I did for my first date is, of course, I picked her up at her apartment. So I knocked on the door. I was dressed to the nines, which for college, was not really dressed to the nines. It was just whatever collared shirt I could find and a tie that didn't necessarily match. I think it did. I don't remember. Again, unnecessary details. And I had a couple of things in my hands to give to her. One is flowers. That is very normal. That is very expected. That is, that's just what you do on a first date is you bring someone flowers. Maybe that's even a bit much for a first date, but we were already friends.
Yeah, I didn't get that from my first date with my husband. He did buy me a turkey sandwich.
Well, that's kind. We had known each other for a while. I was really set, like, I really like this girl. I'm going to make this happen. So I showed up with flowers. I was trying to be all impressive. It was the like $3.99 discount bunch from the Stater Brothers that was next to the university, but it's the money I had. And the other thing was not the expected item. This is the item that when she saw, I was like, what? I had the flowers in a vase. And she's like, okay, thank you for the flowers. And I don't think I've ever got a vase before. Why did you get me a vase? And I said, well, you're going to need somewhere to put the flowers on that I bring to you on our second date.
Aw, that's pretty cute.
And just right out the bat, I just made it clear that I wanted a second date. That was kind of that. We still have that vase. It was from the dollar store. It is a cheesy little blue glass vase where you can totally see the seam on both sides.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But it's one of my personal favorite possessions that we've got. I had my college roommate dressed in a bow tie, and he was our chauffeur. Did not say a word. He put together a playlist. I'd never vetted the playlist, so there was definitely some really humorous moments. Like, I would not have put that on the first date playlist, but all right. Drove us to a completely secret location. She had no idea where we were going, and like several exits down the freeway, she's like, okay, I really have no idea where we're going. Took her to Chipotle, but not the one literally right across the street from the university. I had to take her to the one like 3 cities over just to make sure that she was confused. And like, it was a surprise. It was a successful first date. And I think like 5-6 months later, we were pregnant. So yay.
Oh, wow. That escalated quickly.
It did escalate quickly. It just kind of one of those like clicked and kind of just knew after the first couple dates. You're like, oh, yep, this is it. That was easy. Wow. So, and haven't looked back since. Got married,
Aww.
had the kiddo, all those sorts of things.
Nice.
And now we're been married for 4.5 years now, which in the grand
Wow.
scheme of things isn't a ton of time. It feels like it's gone by in a blink of an eye. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend 10 minutes talking about how Rick and I met, but I will say that it was less of us meeting and more of he saw me at the library where I was working and found me later kind of deals. But he must have had a thing for librarians, but
I mean, I'm not going to shame.
he actually helped me film the demo video I filmed tonight that I'm hopefully releasing on Sunday or Monday.
Fun.
Yeah, it was for that bass Rumble 40. I bought a bass amp to do bass demos with.
Right.
And I just was having a little bit of trouble demoing the amp itself. It's just kind of a weirder thing. Like, I wanted to be able to monitor the audio. Like, it was kind of different and more involved in other demos. So I asked him to help me, and with 5 minutes notice, because he's a bassist. So I'm like, you can do it. You know how to play Audio Slave songs and stuff. And, I don't. That's the exact one. Are there others? I don't know. And an OJ's "Money, Money, Money, Money" song. But I just like watching him play bass, so I was really happy and excited to bring him in on that demo with a very little notice. He did a very good job, I think, and yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that video.
Thank you. He always is just such a big supporter of me and my endeavors. And every time I see somebody, like, let's be real, mostly dudes on the gear pages, like, talk about their wives, I'm like, why are you married to someone that you don't like? Like,
yeah,
clearly don't
always
like.
Confounded me.
I saw on a group that shall not be named because I have bad blood with that group a little bit.
Because snitches get stitches.
Yes, quacking ducks get shot.
Digital snitches get digital stitches. All right.
Some guy, he posted about how now a corner of his living room is the wife autonomous zone. So I know was making a joke about the Capitol Hill autonomous zone, which is now called the Capitol Hill occupational protest zone. But at the same time, I was like, I don't think he understands the naming convention of Chaz. Because it's not that it's autonomous from Capitol Hill, it's that it's autonomous and it's in Capitol Hill.
Well, I mean, that would be like if we named the Capitol Hill autonomous zone the police autonomous zone. Like, no, it's not no, it's location. So then you would have named it like the northeastern corner of the living room autonomous zone.
Yes, exactly.
People. So
just
disappointing.
Get it right. If you're going to make a joke about our lovely little occupied area in Seattle, get it right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the nice thing is we can rule out that they're not a grammar Nazi. Other type of Nazis still yet to be determined, but at least they're not a grammar Nazi.
I'll take a grammar Nazi over an SS Nazi any day of the week.
A super special Nazi?
A super special Nazi. Yes.
The anti-fascists?
Oh my God. It's like Trump's who posted that in the chat today? Somebody
I'm pretty sure I did.
It was you.
I've been rolling with the memes like crazy, which, by the way, if you want fire memes all day, be a Patreon supporter. We'll put you on the Patreon chat, and myself and other patrons constantly flood it with memes.
Yes.
It's
so
my
good.
constant, ever-burning candle of joy.
I know last week we joked that there was drama in it. There really isn't. It's just fun.
There's no drama.
There's no
everybody's
drama.
friends. Everybody's respectful. It's like a little digital utopia. It's my
Lots
corner of the internet where I go to be like, guys, I'm having a rough day. I'm just going to be real with you. And then they just send me a picture of cats. They send me memes. They make all kinds of Star Wars jokes. And they even put up with my puns. That's the kind of utopia we're talking about. They deal with my puns. They even laugh react to them. I mean, that's some serious support.
You also get special content access. Typically, you get to watch the demos before they get released. You get input into the episodes,
too. The selling point is the memes,
too.
Emily. Come on. It's the memes.
You
not the early access to your awesome demos.
Yes. Yes, my awesome demos that have just been taken off. But, yeah. Do we want to talk about the demos I've been churning out? Because I'm kind of tired and I've done a lot of demos.
You've done a ton of demos,
Yeah.
which like it's been a crazy couple of weeks for you. I dropped off like almost 20 pedals
I have
at your
not gotten
place a
through
couple
very
weeks
many of
ago,
them. Yeah.
and I was like, that'll take like a week or two, and then like every day or two, it's been like, oh look, I got something in the mail. And I'm just sitting here going, where is she getting all of this stuff?
From excellent builders who want to support us. From our friends at Ernie Ball and Surfy Industries,
Heck
and a
yeah.
little from Fender. And then I've actually bought more things lately than I've gotten like to demo. But I got a Boss in the DD200, which is really, 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 really great. Like, I'm glad I didn't buy that Alter Ego from you, because the DD200 by Boss is really, really, really good.
Yeah, I had a sneaking suspicion that was going to be that was going to blow the Alter Ego out of the water, which, by the way, is for sale because that's got to pay for one of my current new gear days that I need to pay off.
I also bought the Madover Swell Echo, a blend model he had because he was donating all the proceeds that day to a Black Lives Matter adjacent cause. I forget exactly which one, because there have been so many really cool things that builders have been doing lately where they donate profits from a day or a week, or even all sales from a day or a week to various charities that matter a lot to them, that support the BIPOC folks in our universe. And so I've been trying to get in on those sales where I can. I had the Metaverse Trimstortion already, which is a great pedal, and then the Swell Echo, which I haven't gotten to spend a lot of time with, but it's so beautiful. It's got a really
that would
nice,
work stellar.
Yeah, and I also bought the Montreal Assembly Count to 5, which I plugged in for the first time yesterday for 30 minutes. I'm like, this is one of the most incredible things I've ever touched, and I have no idea how to film a demo of this. Like, I have no idea.
I feel like I definitely joke a lot about like, I'm not high enough for this pedal. In terms of
I wasn't high enough for that pedal.
Joking about taking psychedelics and the typical like I'm a psychedelic rocker kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a psychedelics person. I haven't taken any. I'm actually scared to death
Neither
of the concept of psychedelics. But anyways, I like to joke about it, and usually I'm like, haha, but like actually, like I would definitely play the pedal anyways. It just sounds like fun, and that's one that I'm like, no, yeah, I'd have. Like, I don't know what to do with that no matter what my state of mind is. It's just so freaking cool.
It's very ambient, and the thing is, and I'm really kind of embarrassed to say this, I went into this pedal completely blind. It's like our friend of the show and Patreon supporter, Noah Barnett, who I need to write a song for. Yeah, I love Noah. I need to write him a song. I just been I had a weird moment today with a song I wrote a friend, and then something happened. Don't worry about it. It's actually fine, but it just kind of affected me a little bit. So I might write that for Noah the next couple days. But he was so stoked on it, and I saw them, and I know that my friend Jim Bryson from Ontario, who's been on the show, he had one, and I almost bought one several months ago when they had some Blims available on their store for like $200. But I didn't do it, and I kind of regretted it. And then I think the new ones are even prettier, so I'm really glad I got one of those.
Yeah.
And I was playing it, I'm like, I knew that it was vaguely a delay, but that's all I knew about it. And I don't know if I would call it a delay.
It's an entire thing on its own. We were having a discussion in the patron group on whether or not it was an instrument. And I think the deciding factor, the only thing that's stopping us from labeling it as its own independent instrument, is that it doesn't generate tones autonomously, but it almost kind of does at the same time. It's wild. And I'm so in love with the idea, and I'm definitely stealing it from you for a couple weeks at some point.
Oh, are you? Because I paid for that with my money, boy.
Uh-huh. I would just like to borrow. You've got 20 of my pedals right now. I'm sure at some point while you're busy demoing other things, I could borrow it just to go absolutely insane without the need for any sort of psychedelic inhibitions. Or
You know what? What it reminds me the most of is the mood.
I could see that. I could see that comparison. That's definitely in the same ballpark.
Because it's
Certainly, that's
like,
the closest thing I could think of.
yeah, because I was playing it and I really felt like it was similar in its heart and soul to the mood. Well, I guess that would make the mood similar in its heart and soul to the Count to Five, especially in the second and third modes that take like the longer samples and kind of put them back at you. Because they're almost always listening, but so is the delay. It's really unique, and I like it a lot.
I could see
But
really,
everybody
really
knows that.
liking it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's legendary
ambient.
for a reason. It's legend. Wait for it. Comes out of a cow. Dairy. So
Jesus. It's like an ambient dream machine. It's well done.
So it's my
They
turn to
know.
talk about my new gear because I got new gear and I am hyped.
I am glad because I feel like it wasn't the easiest decision that you made that day.
It wasn't. But it also just wasn't an easy decision to begin. I was. So here's the story. I'm going to tell the story and I'm going to give you all the details and I'm going to really hope that my buyer doesn't get upset with me for the flip game that I pulled on this. So I had an amplifier a couple weeks ago. I'd had it for a few years, and I think I've told the story in the podcast before, but I'm going to tell it again because it's one of my favorite experiences at Guitar Center, and you'll understand in a moment why. So when I worked at Guitar Center, I'd only been there for a few months, and, Guitar Center buys in used equipment. That's a pretty normal thing that they do on a regular basis, and I was the sales associate who was taking care of this guy that came in. He brought a bunch of rat-a-tat looking equipment. I was like, this is going to be kind of tough to appraise. I'm going to have to explain to the guy that, sorry, your stuff's really beat up. And so I'm going through the equipment and half of it doesn't work. And one of the things that doesn't work is this Carvin amplifier. It's a 2x12 combo. It was stupid heavy. And I'm just sitting here like, it wouldn't even turn on. I'm like, buddy, I'm sorry, we can't, if it won't turn on and we can't test whether or not there's an issue with it, we can't buy it from you. And the kid was really, really nice about it. I really mean that. In all sincerity, the kid was incredibly nice. And he was very understanding, and I was very grateful for that because not everybody who came, usually with used buys, people come in, they're like, you're going to offer me how much? That's insulting. I'm like, well, we're offering you cash on the spot. I don't know. There's a time and place for it. So I'm helping we bought the couple of things that he was able to sell, and I'm helping him walk everything back out because it was heavy. So we threw it on a dolly for him, and I'm walking him down the ramp, and he's like, hey, so here's the deal. I need to get rid of this stuff. At this point, it's no longer about the money. Do you want the amp? And I'm sitting there going, I can't say yes to this because, the Guitar Center has its own rules about swooping on deals and used deal poaching. You're really not supposed to poach or tell the guy, hey, we could offer you like $200 for that, but I'll meet you outside if you say no in 15 minutes and give you $300 for it if it's a good deal. You're not supposed to do that kind of stuff. So this kind of fell into that category. And I was like, I'm going to go with my gut here. I can't do this. I need this job. I can't afford to get fired over getting a free amp. I'm sorry, bud. He's like, okay. Are you just saying that because you don't want it? Or are you saying that because you just don't want to lose your job? I'm like, look, I'd love to take it. This thing looks really cool. And I'd be really curious to see what it would take to get it back together. He's like, okay. So what's your car? I'm like, what? Like, which car is yours? Point to it. So I pointed, and then I went back inside, and it was like, wait, is he gonna? No, why would he? So I took my lunch break, like 5 minutes later, went out there, and sure enough, the amp is just sitting next to my car. I am super bummed he didn't leave the foot switch because he had the foot switch for the amp, and he didn't leave it with it. Super bummed about that.
Oh, choosy beggars.
I know. So I took it home. It was checking it out, and it was missing one of the fuses and the cap to the fuse box. So I called Carvin, managed to get. This is before they went out of business, and they sent me the part, the fuse box cap, free of charge, just for the cost of shipping. Then I went to Ace Hardware, got a fuse for it, put it all together, flipped it on, and it just came to life. Had this amp for years. It sounded so good. I really loved how it sounded. It had the right amount of character. It was made right around the time I was born, which I thought was really special. But here's the deal: is it was a 212 combo that had 100 watts of tube power. One, not solid state power, because like like the Champ 100 can get pretty loud, but I'm talking like tube 100-watt amps. That's a big amp.
That's a very loud amp, and that was so common with like a certain era of amplifier. I mean, I've had very loud PV amps in my life, and it's what there was, and there was a reason that you could get them like at a Goodwill for $50. It's because nobody needs an amp that loud anymore.
Totally. So I've had this amp for years, and I've been using it on and off when I've had the ability to. And it had one of the things I thought was really cool about it is it does have an attenuator in the back of it to bring it down to 50 watts or 25 watts. But even at 25-watt tube amp, that's still like pushing it for apartments, even if you're doing.
I mean, yeah, my Fender Champ XD that's only God, that's not a lot of watts, but it was very loud.
Right. So it's a stupid heavy amp. It was rather large. It was incredibly loud, and it took up so much space in all these ways. I only had a couple of opportunities where I had a chance to really open it up and take advantage of the volume it had on tap and kind of push the power amp and, doing what it was built to do.
Especially if you're not playing like large clubs or mid-sized venues. There's just no reason for them in this day and age, in my opinion.
Right. So I was holding on to it, and I was convincing myself if I just hold on to it long enough, I'm going to be in a situation where I could turn it on a regular basis. And I think about 6 months ago, it finally hit me. I'm like, I could just get a different amp at this point and just actually get to play through an amp and really enjoy it. So I decided to sell it, and I found a buyer, sold it for $300. If you're listening to this,
you still got a good deal. Buyer.
You still got a very good deal. Everybody, all the
you can't just always give things away, even if you get them for free. I
priced it very fairly. I wasn't trying to get super greedy with it. I wanted to price it to sell. I wanted to go to someone who was going to use it, not just
it's like when Rick was picking a birthday gift for me. Like we had some talks, and he said like. And I said, I just don't want to ask you to get me a pedal I might end up selling because I don't know if I'm going to like it. And the only reason I hadn't bought the pedal is because I wasn't sure I would like it. And he's like, Emily, I don't care. It's your birthday gift. If you don't end up liking that pedal and you sell it, that's fine. I was like, oh.
Yeah, so I sold it. Yeah. All of that to say, I made it about 3 days of having only the Strymon Iridium, which, don't get me wrong, is awesome. I also like pushing air. And I was like, well, I've got money in my gear fund now. What can I do with this? And I'd sold some other things and this, that. So I had a little bit more than I usually have just laying around. So it wasn't just like I could buy a pedal territory. It was like, I could probably actually buy an amp. So I very quickly came to that realization and scuttled together some funding and put an order in for a Fender Deluxe Tone Master. I was scared to death ordering it. It's brand new technology. I know it's been out for a few months.
They announced them last year at Summer NAMM, if I remember correctly.
Right. That sounds about right. I mean, it hasn't been out in the market super, super long, but I mean, I don't know. On paper, it had everything that I needed out of it. It had the attenuation down to a quarter from it was like 20 something watts all the way down to a quarter of a watt. So I could play it at like just, regular room conversational volumes, which was really appealing to me. Or be able to take it to a practice or a gig or something and keep up with the drum set.
Mm-hmm.
And so that range of volumes really appealed to me. I've always loved the way a Fender Deluxe sounds, and based on all the promises, it sounds almost identical to a vintage Deluxe, which I think is definitely like before I bought it, I'm like, there's no way, but at least if it's in the ballpark, it should be good enough. I plugged it in with my Jennings Voyager Deluxe, just cable to the guitar, the other end of the cable into the amp, plugged it in as soon as I got it home, and I don't know why it took me several years to sell the amp I couldn't turn up to a reasonable volume. Because
Yeah.
once I was able to push this amp, even with the attenuator, I could still push the amp to hit that sweet spot.
With the new amp.
With a new amp, yeah. I mean,
right. I mean, you can turn that down to like 0.25 watts, and it's just
quarter of a
awesome.
watt, and it still sounds, the bass. That the quarter watt, I lose a little bit of the bass.
Yeah.
But I've been playing it. I think it's got like half and a one watt, the couple notches up. I can still push a little bit, get that edge of breakup sound, which out of deluxe you have to push pretty hard for.
Oh,
And
totally.
it just sings. I'm so happy with this thing. I was really hoping it was going to be as good as it sounded on paper, and so far I am beyond stoked on this. I'm very satisfied.
Good.
I watched your demo and I thought it sounded great. I haven't tried plugging in for myself to kind of compare the in-room feel versus the built-in cab simulators. But
yeah, no, they're cool though. Like,
yeah, I wanted to try it for myself. I'm super fascinated to what I really want to test is so the Iridium's got a Fender Deluxe model in it.
oh, I didn't even think to do that.
And so what I want to try doing is turn off the cab simulators on both and do just the preamp. I want to compare how the preamp sounds without a cab simulator and or run a cab simulator in my DAW for both inputs and just switch between the two and see with the same cab sim, how are those two preamps holding?
You should do that.
I need to get around to doing that sometime. Probably not this week, but maybe the week after. I'll do a little bit of investigatory work. See what I can work up.
Investigatory. Yeah,
But
there's one video I haven't finished filming yet comparing the Fender Mustang GTX 100 to the Tone Master Fender Deluxe Reverb, because someone specifically asked me about it, and I'm really curious, and I want to know now. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I would be very curious to hear that too. Here's my full takeaway at this point. I would have no issues gigging this amp based on everything I've heard so far. Absolutely no issues.
Totally.
And I certainly have. I've been very happy with just noodling on it during like my lunch break or whatever I'm doing because I work from home and I'm like, what do I want to do on my lunch break?
What do I
eat
want?
a burrito. Oh, that's right. I've got burritos in the fridge. I could eat a burrito and then I could noodle on guitar for half an hour and then go back to work.
That's why I love working from home, dude. Like, I've been doing it for months. Like, it's been so great to just, instead of like eating lunch and scrolling my phone for an hour, going for a walk that I don't really want to go on, play guitar, take a nap, eat whatever the hell I want for lunch. So wonderful.
I'm starting to settle into a better rhythm with it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, good.
Certainly my productivity is starting to go up. And I think if my productivity hasn't caught up with my productivity when I was actually going to the office, it's getting pretty close.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think Rick's even, my husband's been getting a little bit better with it because he really had he was struggling, even though he would work from home every Friday, to go from it just being one day a week he's working from home to every day. It was hard for him to hit that divide of like, when do I stop working? Because it was always before, like, when I get home, I stop working. But I think he's been getting better at it. I fell into it immediately. I loved it so much right away. But that's me.
Well, shall we do sponsors and do some more chit-chatting?
Yes! This week's episode of the Get Offset podcast is sponsored by Surfy Industries with its U.S. hub in Memphis, Tennessee. They make real deal spring reverb units. They also have their own, I know they have a vibrato pedal and another little reverb pedal that are standard enclosure sizes, but they have a pedal board size legit spring reverb unit that's probably I mean it's big for a guitar pedal for sure, but I have other pedals that are close to that size. And it sounds great. It's actually almost 2 reverb pedals in one because you can set 2 separate mix rates.
All I know is you said a pedal-sized spring reverb pedal, and all I can think in my head now is bring.
It drip. And it crashed too. But apparently the decay acts as a gate. So that if you're not playing and you accidentally kick, like if it's a quiet moment and you accidentally kick your pedal, it won't make the crashing sound. You have to actually be playing for it to make the crashing sound. You know what? I'll be honest. I think that's smart. I think it's really smart if you have something on stage that could be hit during the last thing you want during a quiet part in a song is a crash. And if all you have to do is play a smidge to get that crashing sound, that's fine.
I call that dynamics. Also, I admit that I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually...
Also, can you disable that? Like
no,
the gate on it?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, well, don't talk smack on our sponsors. They're great. And
we
donated that sponsorship money to a couple bail funds.
We did. No, I'm not talking crap. I'm processing in real time.
Right.
Let's be fair here.
Really, I think the only downside about that pedal isn't even the size. It does have a 12-volt power need, but they sell a power supply on their website for $80 that I might pick up because $80 is about as cheapest I've ever seen that power supply, and it looks legit. I don't know exactly which one it is. It's not their own power supply. It's someone else's power supply, but so I feel like they're helping make that easier. But also, my Walrus power supply has a courtesy plug on it, so it's really a non-issue if you have something like that.
Right. So I'm going to sort of explain / unofficially retract what I just said. Is my immediate reaction was, what? You can't, like, I want to hear the crash. And I think that was coming from a place of anarchistic bravado. No, that does not mean I'm a member of Antifa, because there is no membership and certainly no centralized leadership.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. And also, like,
I was really feeling that, I want to feel the crash. And then as soon as you said that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, I prefer it that way. Right, fine, you're probably right, but I'm not going to fully admit that you're right, because that would be emasculating. And
wow. Are men okay?
No. Never.
Y'all so fragile. I'm so sorry.
Totally, we're fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Jeez.
It's like, do you have any friends who, like, you as an adult or like in college or high school, you played a board game or a video game with them one time, and the way they behaved when they lost made you realize that their parents had let them win at every game they ever played in their life, and it just made them into kind of, and like, it's harder to learn how to, like, accept loss or being wrong or not doing well as an adult than it is as a child.
My sophomore year of college, we had a foosball table in the middle of our living room. I think we were given it for free. I don't entirely remember the circumstances of which we acquired it. I just remember having a foosball table
from a bar.
So here's the thing is, I'm going to admit something really dorky here. I also had a foosball table in my bedroom as a kid / in the garage.
Yeah, I had one.
Neighborhood kids would come around and we'd all play foosball.
Right.
I got kind of
good at it because
I'm good at foosball.
Yeah,
because
that's fine. That's cool.
I'm good at it. I enjoy it. I had fun. We get to college, and so this guy that I knew, who may or may not have actually been my roommate, was incredibly competitive and also played sports for the college that I went to. Could not handle the fact that I beat him every single time.
Right.
And then broke the foosball table out of anger. So
that is bad. That's like, I've had that experience with a guy who, like, kind of tried to date me in college, and then one day a couple of us are playing Monopoly, and I think it's like, my parents never let me win at games, so if I wanted to win at games, I had to become good at the games. So I was just, like, winning, and I'm not a bad loser, but I'm not a gracious winner either. Like, I was just enjoying myself. I was having fun. I was winning at Monopoly, a game that I'm just traditionally not great at because, again, my parents never let me win, so I never felt good at it. And then
Monopoly, the game that proves that even given the concept that people start with a level of equity or equity, equality, etc., from the get go, that it's still incredibly likely for antitrust or monopolies and antitrust to form, and therefore undermine the basis of capitalistic society.
I was going to say that it takes money to make money, but cool. You've been spending some time in Chop, haven't you?
I haven't been. I really want to go, and I think the only reason I won't be going to Chop or Chaz or whatever we're calling it these days is I also just haven't left my house for anything other than like groceries and very bare minimum things, just out of concern for COVID and the health needs of the family members in my household related to that.
Yeah, my husband went down today with our neighbor, and they just were there for a minute while they were going to a grocery store in Capitol Hill, a Greek grocery store that our neighbor's friend owns. And Rick said it was really chill. He's like, there's a guy who started a garden. The businesses are open, and everyone seems pretty cool. He's like, it just kind of felt like going to a little street fair.
Yeah, I had a friend describe it as like during the like before Chaz or Chop or whatever, when the protests were a little bit more like actively like facing off with riot control. There was fear, like my friend described it. I feared for my life. I was seriously concerned, and my safety was not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now I went to go visit Chop or Chaz. I think we're
Chaz
moving to Chop.
First. We moved to Chop, yeah.
Right. So went to go visit Chop, and my friend said, I am so scared that I might get a contact high, or worse, I might get offered a vegan pizza.
Yeah, my band member's roommate got offered some pot. He's like, that was pretty much it.
Somehow that is the worst thing that could happen there. And all things considered, I think that's not bad.
Well, I heard that some guy showed up with a gun today and kind of looked around and was like, yeah, I don't need this, and left.
Yeah, buddy. If you're here to...
Nobody knows if he was like a Proud Boy who was like, this is something I need to fight against, or like, I want to offer my protective services to this organization. Kind of looked around and was like, yeah, I don't need this, and left. Like, I think that basically says everything that the some media sources aren't reporting.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
like Rick's mother called him, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." Why wouldn't we be okay? Like, they stopped. The police were gassing people in Capitol Hill, which just, I know nobody understands neighborhoods in cities that aren't theirs, but Capitol Hill is the largest density of residential occupants. Like in the downtown area, more people live in Capitol Hill than any other neighborhood in the city, is my understanding of it. And
that sounds about, I think maybe follow up to that would maybe be Queen Anne.
Maybe. Queen Anne's traditionally always been more expensive. That's not the city. And I mean, like downtown Seattle. Like it has the highest like population density. And my friend lives like overlooking everything that was happening. And she was getting tear gassed every night while she was in her home with her girlfriend and her dog doing nothing. like still getting affected because like these tear gas canisters that the police are like throwing at people because they grabbed some person's umbrella and the person instinctively pulled it back and they just start gassing everybody or stuff like that. They basically killed a 21-year-old girl until medics could bring her back, like, because they hit her directly with a tear gas canister. So then when the police left, there hasn't been an incident in Capitol Hill since the police left. Like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my thoughts on that. I've had, in the last couple of days, I've had several, like more than two, several friends and family members reach out and be like, hey, is like everything okay over there? Like, did you just become Russia? Or like, what's going on? Are you safe? Do you need like money for a plane ticket?
Believe Herndon's joking tweet. Do y'all need some fair trade coffee?
So I've had very well-meaning friends and family, and not anyone who I would seriously accuse of of being indecent human beings, just people who are legitimately concerned for my health and my safety and that of my family. But I also didn't get those phone calls a couple weeks ago when the Seattle Police Department was getting caught on camera doing some much more heinous things. So I think this falls into the category of we fear what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very, I would say that's the concept that humans fear what they don't know, I think is part of the human condition. I think that is entirely normal. That's my own philosophical assessment of, as a portion of the human condition. Right. Feel free to disagree with me on that. That's just kind of my thoughts. And I think in a lot of areas that applies. I think we're so used to police brutality in a sense, and being a lot of folks are able to justify it as they're doing their job. And, this has just come par for the course and all of that, that it's not necessarily your first thought that crosses your mind. You're like, wait, is that a problem? Are we okay with no one's jumping to that. It's like, oh, this is how it goes. I would say that's a very similar thing where I grew up as a military brat in the military, and I kind of grew up thinking this is normal. This is how the world works. We just invaded Iraq. Cool. And it didn't hit me until college. And after college, you're like, wait a minute. I've always just kind of taken that wholesale. But how do I actually, let's break this down. How to feel. So my friends and family haven't necessarily kind of hit that spot. I think that's okay. I'm not bagging on anyone for not having reached that point. I think the excuses for not having reached that point are starting to run a little bit thin, but I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so modern policing is just that, it's modern, and things like police officers on patrol and police officers carrying weapons and police officers having militarized gear and not necessarily being, that's all new.
Is it?
It's actually, a lot of our modern policing techniques came from exactly one person. So I would just have to Google it. And that would probably be not something we should talk about on this podcast at this moment. But
I'll just simply state that I'm not convinced of the source, or that I don't necessarily agree at face value with your assessment, but go on.
That modern policing is modern. Okay. I mean, okay, knights weren't cops.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so that's fine. Whatever. But that's not really what we were going to talk about this week.
I'm just choosing not to engage. I'm just simply letting it be known that I'm not giving wholesale approval for what you're saying right now.
That's fine. You should question the things that I'm saying out of nowhere. That's great, actually, honestly. And then I will find my resources and we'll discuss it more thoroughly later, instead of yelling at each other right now for disagreeing with
civil, respectful discourse. I love it.
Yeah, isn't that neat? I'm like, yeah. There was somebody, other podcaster I was talking to this week, and at one point I said, I don't agree with your assessment on something, and I just kind of wanted to leave it at that because I didn't want to get into it more.
Yeah, that's fair.
And what we were not discussing, we weren't debating the Squire Paranormal series, which would have been a much funner thing to.
That's probably a lot more exciting at this point, or certainly more refreshing.
More refreshing, and I've never how is that for a transition?
That is, I would say that is a paranormal transition into a paranormal topic.
But wait, hold on a second. Beautiful.
There we go. There it is.
My shock jock soundboard. So, the Squire had leaked. Well, someone had leaked the Squire Paranormal Series right before Winter NAMM.
Digital snitches get digital stitches.
And everyone, I think, was a little disappointed that that's not what got announced. But they were going to announce it, as my understanding, at Summer NAMM. And since Summer NAMM wasn't happening, it got announced late last week, the Paranormal Series, which features probably getting the most attention. Well, there are a couple of models that are getting a lot of attention, and I think overall people are super stoked on the line. But it marks the return of the Squire Supersonic, which is your white whale.
It is, well, not the Squire one specifically, but the Supersonic is my white whale.
Yeah. I mean, it was the Fender Pawn Shop Supersonic.
Supersonic series that came out. It was better part of a decade ago.
Yeah. with some great colors, but
they did an orange metallic sparkle that was just, and the reason why it's my white whale is the criteria for white whale.
That's a Moby Dick reference for those at home.
Okay, weird flex, but all right. So
I'm sorry to say just white. That's not the world's most common phrase. So I thought it would explain to people who don't know what a white whale is. It's like the one that got away.
Moby Dick move, all right. Anyways, I had the opportunity to buy one used for like $400, which based on what the current prices are in Reverb is ridiculous. I didn't realize that was a bonkers price at the time. I was just thinking, I really like this a lot. This plays way better than it should for a $400 guitar, and it's orange, which really is honestly the only selling point for anything that I do in my life right now. Is it orange? Sold. Is that rational? No. But
no, it's not rational at all. But that's a lot of things to say you didn't buy it and you've regretted it ever since.
I've regretted it, and I also just love the concept of the guitar and like one volume.
No, actually, that's wrong. They're both volumes. Each pickup has a volume knob. There's no tone knob on this guitar.
Death to tone.
Yeah, that's kind of like, why have a toggle and volume knobs is my question. But it's an offset. It's a reverse offset. Because then you could just turn the volume down on one of the pickups and then you wouldn't need a pickup selector.
Well, it depends on how it's wired. Are we talking?
No, okay, we're not talking about this. It's an offset guitar. It's a reverse body, so it's also got a reverse headstock. I'd always heard that those reverse offsets were prone to neck dive. I didn't really experience that at all. I really like it as a guitar. It's got a narrow neck. It's only a 1.5 inch nut width. Standard guitar is like 1.6 and some change. Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't the case on the Pawn Shop series.
I don't know, but it is on these. It's a 24-inch scale and a 1.5 inch nut width. It was a really comfortable guitar. Ryan Burke and I both got the exact same guitar in the same color because sadly they're only releasing it right now in kind of a vaguely glittery blue and a vaguely glittery gray or charcoal. I wish they had gone bolder with the colors.
Like orange.
Yeah, to be honest.
Which also just looked up one of the used listings on reverb.com for the Orange Flake Supersonic is for $1,400. So $400 is dumb. I really regret passing on that. Like
that was been like 30% of what it is now.
Usually when I say I regret something, I don't really mean it because I don't really have regrets. So that's one of those like I lay awake at night in my bed going, why did I pass? I should have. Because
you were young, it didn't have $400.
I mean, yes, but I also had 2 kidneys.
Wow. Oh, you could have sold some plasma. That would have been the more healthy choice. But no, so I got I should say I bought with my own money the Supersonic and the offset Telecaster. And I really like the Supersonic a lot. I think it's really fun and it sounds best with distortion. I love the offset Telecaster. And I've always thought, to be blunt, like an opinion I would never say because I wouldn't want to make anybody mad. I've always thought offset Telecasters were so dumb, so goofy, so silly. Why would you want that? I have one now and I love it. I was wrong. I will admit it. I am not too proud to admit that the offset Telecasters are so, so, so great. I love it so much. I love it so much, Andrew.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Thank you. And now Rick, my husband, also likes it. I was looking at them on the website because I'm like, I can afford to buy 2 of these. I had a coupon, full disclosure, with my coupon code. And I'm like, which one do you want? He's like, I want a Telecaster. And I was like, offset Tele, cool. And then he sees it. He's like, "Oh, but it doesn't look like a Telecaster." And he's been playing it the past couple of days, and he just loves it as much as I do. So, yeah, the Supersonic is so cool, and I like it a lot. Also, I loaned it to my singer just because I don't really have space for it, and I filmed my demo for now. I am. I think it says a lot that I love the Supersonic and happily handed it to my singer in my band to borrow. And I got the offset telly, and I don't enjoy sharing it with my husband.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So real quick, I pulled up the spec sheets for both. First of all, I think it's super cool. The Squier ones have the same humbuckers that the Fender Pawn Shop ones did, stock.
Really? Because they're weird. Well, Ryan even measured them, and he said their outputs are way different.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily surprise me.
No.
But they're both the atomic humbuckers.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Which is, according to this listing for the Pawn Shop Supersonic electric guitar from whenever this was listed, also lists it as the atomic humbucking for bridge and the neck.
Mm-hmm. Well, the J Mascis Jazz Masters also say single coil Jazz Master, and then a bunch of people in the YouTube video are like, they're P90s. Which, I mean, maybe, but that's not what the website says.
There is a difference between a Jazz Master soap bar and a P90.
Yeah, there's a difference.
And the nut width on the Squier is 1.575 inches, so just a notch above an inch and a half, whereas the Pawn Shop was 1.65.
Wait, when I was looking at the Fender website earlier, it said an even 1.5.
Well, it says here nut width on the Squier electric guitars Paranormal Supersonic, 1.575 40 millimeter nut width.
Is that on the Fender website?
Yeah, Fender website.
Wait,
and then, according to the listing on Musician's Friend...
Oh, I'm sorry. You're 100% right. 40 millimeters.
42 millimeters for the Fender one.
Yeah.
Also important to note that the Fender Pawn Shop series, both of the humbuckers were angled, whereas the Squier series, only the bridge is angled. Which
weird,
I know is a small detail, but I actually prefer them both angled. I feel like if I got the Squier, to have to offset the other one as well, because
it's like a Mustang has both angled, and
I just think the way that the body shape looks, it just kind of
looks better both angled.
It looks better with both angled, and with the neck pickup not angled, it draws my attention to that pickup because it feels so out of place, and it just kind of interrupts the rhythm of the flow of. I feel like such an art snob right now.
I agree with you completely. Like the aesthetics of it, because then it would match exactly like the curve of the horns if they were both angled.
Isn't this so lovely? Imagine this is the first episode a listener is listening to, and they're like, wow, they're talking about offset guitars. And then they go back and listen to other episodes like, wait, where's the offset guitar? I thought these guys talked about... We always get tagged in people's
pictures of people's offset guitars.
I love. But I also think it's really funny because some of the tags we get, like some of the posts we get tagged in on social media, I'm like, I don't think you guys have listened to the show.
It's the same. There have been people who reach out to us because they want us to promote their offset guitars that we've never played. And I'm like, why?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love offset guitars.
I do too, but I'm like, they're like, we want to talk about our guitar. And I'm like, have you listened to the show? Like, yes, we talk about guitars. We're almost more guitar adjacent.
I mean, to be fair, we did just talk about police brutality and hippie communes and fascism, all the exciting things before we got to the offset guitars.
Yeah.
But I just feel like someone's got to be listening right now going, oh,
wow,
this is a great show about offset guitars.
This is exactly what I anticipated.
Exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yes. OSG. Yeah, you know me. Actually, I finally joined offsetguitars.com, the forum, because I was looking
People
at
are
our
name dropping you.
I was looking at our analytics and I'm like, oh, we got some YouTube views from Offset Guitars. So I went there and name searched myself. and I about died when someone said that people were wondering how like there are only 2 demos of the Supersonic and only 3 demos of any of the Paranormal Series guitars. 2 of them are me because I bought them from Fender.com. By the way, if you're listening and you really want these, again, Fender did not pay me to say this, but I do know that they seem to be shipping out orders placed on their website immediately, and some local shops that have available stock in hand are shipping out whatever they have immediately, but I know bigger retailers seem to be doing pre-sales.
With the caveat of if we get them in stock.
If we get them. Somebody said that a major retailer.
I don't have full confirmation on that. This is just an informal one-off source that's told us that, but
right.
If true, that is like what?
It was a first-person source, to be clear.
Very clear.
But that's also normal, so I believe it. And I think the website say pre-order, no promise on a ship date, but late June, probably. And Fender just seems to be shipping them out immediately. So if you can't wait, unless you have like some gift card or some other reason to buy from a major retailer, check out your mom and pops and check out Fender.com first.
Fender is radical, and I definitely want several of these.
Yeah, same. I'm trying to get a few to demo. I have high hopes, but what were we talking about?
The Paranormal Series,
right? And much I love the offset telly. Which is your favorite, and which is your? Do you have a surprising least favorite? Because I do.
I'm not sure I feel about the Cyclone, but I also feel like I might like it if I sat down and played with it.
The Cyclone I would happily play, and the reason I got the offset telly instead of the Cyclone was because I knew somebody else who was getting the Cyclone to demo, and I didn't want to compete with that person on 2 guitars.
Fair enough. There's a couple that I'm really fascinated by. One of them is one of the lesser known ones in this bunch, and that's the Paranormal Toronado.
I saw one at a pawn shop on Aurora last year.
I'm fascinated by it.
See, that's the one I think is the most boring.
I think it's got potential, but that's not the one I'm most excited about. The one that I actually really, really want is the Cabernita Telecaster, the baritone one.
Yeah, absolute same. Sorry.
That one sounds super rad. There's also the just the thin line, but I've already got a thin line Telecaster with P90s in it. Although it looks like this one might have Jazzmaster foot.
Those are actually Jazzmasters, and the reason I really don't, I like this is on the like if I had to rate them on which ones I want, this would be the second to last. Just because since I got the offset telly, how stupid would it be for me to have a Jazzmaster with Telecaster pickups and then a Telecaster with Jazzmaster pickups at the same time?
That sounds like a personal problem.
But I'm sorry, would that not make me the world's most obnoxious guitarist? Because I'm pretty sure it would.
I think of all the things that would put you in that category, there's plenty of other better contenders.
It's got to be like one of the 2 most hipster moves in the world to have a Telecaster with Jazzmaster pickups and a Jazzmaster with Telecaster pickups instead of just buying a Jazzmaster and a Telecaster separately. Because at one point, like offsets, oh no, I just really like the shape of the guitar. It's not about the pickups. But
I
then
think
the other way around.
I think it would have just been hypocritical because we're clearly a podcast that's all about offset guitars.
Well, I mean, that's why it's toward the bottom of my list.
I see what you're saying. It'd be like drinking PBR out of a glass and then insisting on drinking craft beer out of the can. So
right.
I get it. I get it.
It's like uppity in the wrong way. It's like, yeah, that's exactly right. I want a lot more things like that, like comparisons for that.
To quote 2 Chainz, yeah, I'm different.
Wow.
No, so the reason why I wouldn't necessarily want the thin line Cabernita is I've got a thin line Telecaster with P90s in it already that I rather like. This one doesn't comparatively beat that one out by any stretch of the imagination. But the baritone one, I've wanted to have a baritone for a little bit now because
they're really fun.
Like a lot.
I have an offset baritone from Eastwood.
And 2, I actually really like tellies. I know this we're supposed to only like offsets, but I actually really like the way a telly body feels. It feels really natural to me. It's part of it's because the first guitar I got was the thin line Telly that I have sitting in my wall. It's my first electric guitar. It feels natural because that's what I'm used to. And I feel like that would be a really great body shape for me to get into the baritone world with a familiar body shape, but then with that extended range neck, I think could be a lot of fun. So I would say probably
100%.
the baritone Telly, followed by one of the supersonics that I would immediately start modding, stripping the paint off, routing the body if necessary, and getting a new pick guard so I could do the double angled humbuckers, maybe even swap out the humbuckers, and I would teach myself how to do a orange flake. Because, as much as I'd like the idea of getting the original, I'm not paying $1,400
Hell
for a
no.
pawn shop series. Like, it's cool, and they don't pop up for sale very often. Supply and demand, I get it. I just don't think I could bring myself out on principle, knowing that I could have had it for $400.
Yeah. So your number one is the Cabronita. Hold me tight.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think I'm sinking down. So you would get the Carbonita, then the Supersonic. What would be your third choice?
Probably the Toronado.
Ooh,
in fact, definitely the Toronado. Specifically the blue one with the torque guard.
And what's cool is I've seen pictures of these like in shops, and they're a lot darker. So I think the darker color looks better. Also, the offset Telecaster, the natural finish is closer to a walnut than the color on the website. So keep that in mind, is that the colors seem to generally skew darker than what's pictured.
I think Lake Placid Blue is a great color, and more specifically, Lake Placid Blue with the torque guard is just a gorgeous combination. I think that would work. I think based on what I'm seeing the website, and even if it got a little bit darker, I think would work really well. I do like a double humbucker situation for pickups, as two of my electrics are that way as well. I wouldn't mind having another one and having a little bit of fun with that.
And also that they each have their own volume and tone is ideal. Is rare for Fender, but a lot of people do seem to like that. Do these have longer scales?
I don't think so. Where's the spec sheet on this?
20. Actually, yeah, it's a shorter scale. It's a Gibson scale, 2475. I thought it was something a little different. Just eyeballing it.
Well, just looking at it, I think that body shape could be very comfortable.
I think it's like the wiring is it's a Les Paul.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's the scale length of a Les Paul, but it's an offset body. So it's like you take away the boring stuff about a Les Paul and you put it on an offset.
Right. But and I've never liked how a Les Paul feels in my hands.
Okay.
I'm going to step out for 2 seconds. We'll be right back.
Yeah. So I think that I don't know why the Toronado just feels a smidge boring to me. It might be that I almost am a little probably skewed because I have had one and held it before. And I think it was in a pawn shop on Aurora Avenue. And I think it was not even that expensive, and it was a Fender guitar, and it was an offset, and it checked off all of those kind of ideal boxes for me. But I sometimes when you pick up a guitar, it just doesn't give you that feeling, that kind of magical chemistry sort of feeling, like when you meet somebody at a party that you like. But not to butt in, but you've actually walked away for a minute, and so now the audience doesn't know you left because I did cut out that part. But cool. Now they know you left because I'm talking about it now. But sorry, I was saying that I think that the thing is that when I was at a pawn shop in North Seattle, I played a Toronado for a bit, and it was a really cheap price, and everything seemed right with it, and it was a Fender and an offset and all those boxes. It didn't give me that feeling that you get when you know and immediately bond with an instrument. And so that's kind of why I have the Toronado as the last guitar on this list of Paranormal Series that I would want to buy with my own money.
I would, for my last on the list, I'd probably go Cyclone.
Oh, really?
Honestly, I'm gonna go Cyclone for last on my list.
So what? So you okay? Let's start from the top again. Number 1, Supersonic. Number 2, Baritone. Number 3,
No,
Tornado.
number 1 Baritone, number 2 Supersonic.
Okay, my bad. Number 3 is Tornado. What's number 4? The bass
Number 4
or the
would be the
thin
bass.
line? Yeah, that's a pretty handsome bass. I really like the white color. And then 5 would be the thin line.
5 is going to be the offset Telecaster.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one because it was. Yeah, go ahead. So offset Telecaster, then the thin line.
Then the thin line. The thin line just doesn't necessarily do it for me in terms of something different. But it's also it's a tele body. It's similar-ish pickups to the one I've got right now. I feel I could settle into really enjoying that guitar after a little bit of time.
Oh.
And then I'm going to go last for the Cyclone.
Wow. Well, at least we know if Fender sends us a Cyclone, you won't be gunning for it. If they send us a Tornado,
I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong on this, but
well, I mean, this is just from looking at the website what you want, because the list I'm about to give you of my ranked is biased toward what I've held in my hands.
Before you give the list, I just want to explain my reasoning briefly. I actually really like the body shape of the Cyclone. I like the fact that it's got 3 pickups, and I think could be really cool for a Strat situation.
Yeah, because they are Strat pickups this time around, not Jag ones.
Here's my problem. It's also sort of my problem with Jags. I don't like having to hit, I like having a toggle switch, not the, the
slider switches.
Slider switch.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're sliders, yeah.
I feel like that would really bother me for, a live application for swapping between pickups and whatnot. Just having it each individual pickups on and off slider switch, I think would really throw me.
But you're less likely to accidentally knock them.
Sure. I also don't typically
where they are compared to
typically accidentally nudge my toggle switches though.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the one non-starter for me for those on-off pickup switches. They look cool, kind of. I don't know. Do they look cool? I'm not sold on it.
I think they look cool. I think, yeah.
It's also right. They're also sitting right about where my strum pattern is, so I'd also very likely bump those.
See, I'm going to tell you why my 1 and 2 swapped after I bought them. So initially, when I saw them, number 1 was Supersonic. Probably number 2 was Cyclone, and then number 3 would be the offset Tele. But when I bought these, they didn't have the Cyclone on the website yet, so I bought the Supersonic and the offset Tele. And as you've heard me gush, the offset Tele I just am in love with, instantly bonded with. It feels like a Telecaster even, and it just screams. It's just, I love it a lot. The Supersonic I really, really like. I don't want to give the wrong impression that I don't like it, because I do. But the position of that first volume knob with how the rest of the guitar sits on the body, I kept racking my pinky knuckle against it while I was playing, and it hurt. So when I was playing it later, I had to,
and it hurt.
Well, I'm kind of a loosey-goosey with my right wrist when I play. It's the style I've kind of developed. I'll just have to choke up and play a lot tighter on the Supersonic, is to just ensure that I'm not going to hit my pinky.
I'll give you this. I think from an aesthetic standpoint, one of the best looking ones has got to be the offset Telecaster in the surf green. I think with the maple fretboard, I think that looks so good, dripping in vintage vibes.
If you're looking on the website, I would agree with you. I went with the natural walnut, thinking it's too light of a guitar. I don't like light brown guitars, really. And I get it, and I unbox it, and I think they've given me the wrong thing, because it's this beautiful, it's like a walnut, but redder, and just a smidge less dark, and it's just beautiful. I mean, sure. So my bassist wants the offset Tele in the other color.
I mean, I like how my kitchen table looks too.
I wish that they had, they only did 2 colors at most for the models, right?
I think so. Just clicking around, I haven't seen one that had more.
Yeah, and the baritone only has one color. It looks like the bass might only come in one color. Looks like the thin line might also just come in. So retract what I said. Just in general, I wish they'd released more color options.
No, the thin line comes in Fiesta Red as well.
Oh, right. Does the baritone? Oh, no, the baritone just seems to be black, and the bass. Let's look at this guy. Oh, the bass comes in two colors, blonde or white.
Butterscotch blonde or white blonde.
Yeah, and that's odd.
I'd actually probably say the white blonde looks better between the two.
A lot better. Yeah, I'm not a big butterscotch person, even when it's, unless I guess it's Tom Petty, because I just don't think you should be playing Tom Petty's color.
Well, a butterscotch blackguard is one of the best looking guitars on the planet, I think.
Sure, and it's Tom Petty's only to have.
I disagree with that statement.
Sure.
I like Tom Petty, don't get me wrong. Rest in peace. That is one of the musicians that I will forever be sad I never got to see live.
Oh, I got to see him live.
I know. I think we've had this conversation. It makes me sad.
I sing a lot of times to Cat. I sing, "You're a good girl. You love your mama. You love cookies and bird watching too. And you're a good girl. Crazy about laser. Love scratches. And your papa too."
Yeah, okay, so that's cool. But are you going to tell me that you're going to tell Bruce Springsteen that he can't play his butterscotch blackguard?
Oh, okay. Two people in this world.
I'm just saying we could start chunking through the list. Elvis Costello played one when we went to go see him.
Yeah.
When he came through Seattle.
But his guitar is a jazz master, and end of story.
But he got to play the Scott. It looked so good. It sounded phenomenal. I'm just saying. You're being very
Elvis
exclusionary
Costello
right
has
now.
his guitar. Elvis Costello has his guitar.
And I'm going to go here. Prince's guitar is derivative of that. So
no, it's not. It's a flame maple. Shut your dirty little mouth. Shut your dirty little mouth.
Derivative.
Shh.
So if you're going to pull that card, it's going to fly back in your face.
Did you ever let me talk long enough to name my entire order of the Paranormal Series?
No, just the top two.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for
listening. Thanks for understanding. So now, after I've played two of them, my number 1, Offset Telly. Number 2, Supersonic. 3, Cyclone. 4, Baritone. 5, Bass. 6, Thin Line. 7, Toronado. Boom.
Well, all right.
On that note.
On that note, thanks for listening and thanks for understanding. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Emily.
Goodbye.
Bye.